This is HOA property. More?
It's my property.
Respect.
Some people think power comes from money, rules, or fancy titles. But where I come from, power comes from roots, the kind that dig deep into the earth and hold fast through generations. That's why when the HOA tried to claim my great-grandfather's mountain cabin, a place that's been in my family since before cars existed, I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I simply smiled, and let the law do the talking. But trust me, getting to that point was one long war of patience. It all started with a letter, one of those thick, glossy envelopes with gold lettering. Welcome to Haven Ridge, where community thrives. I almost tossed it straight in the trash, but the words, Mandatory Homeowners Association Membership, caught my eye. I frowned. Mandatory? That couldn't be right. My family owned this cabin free and clear for over a century. Still, curiosity got the best of me. Inside was a welcome brochure, a list of HOA rules, and, get this, a bill for my first month's dues. $250, I muttered, shaking my head. I thought it had to be junk mail. But then I noticed the name. Mr. Jonathan Lawson, Haven Ridge Community, Parcel 27B. Parcel 27B was my land. I picked up the phone and called the number listed. A woman answered, confident, crisp voice. Haven Ridge Homeowners Association, this is Linda speaking. Hi, Linda, I said. There must be a mistake. My property isn't part of any HOA. Oh, it's not a mistake, she replied, cheerfully fake. Your cabin falls within the new development boundary. The developer's plat was updated this year. I never agreed to that. Oh, you don't need to, she said. Annexation is automatic once you're within the zone. That's when I knew, this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a takeover. 2 days later, I drove up to the cabin, the same cabin my great-grandfather built in 1886. The smell of pine, the distant rumble of the creek, the carved initials on the porch post, all of it was sacred to me. But that morning, there was something different. A shiny metal sign stood right where my gravel drive met the road. Haven Ridge Private Property, HOA rules enforced. And right behind it, a white SUV with the HOA logo on the door. I parked beside it, got out, and found 3 people in polo shirts walking around my land with clipboards. Can I help you? I asked. A woman in sunglasses, Linda, turned, smiling thinly. Mr. Lawson. We were just doing a preliminary inspection. Making sure all properties meet our community standards. Community? I repeated. This isn't part of your community. She tilted her head. Oh, that's where you're mistaken. The developer integrated this area into Haven Ridge's maintenance plan. You'll be receiving your landscaping schedule soon. I laughed. I like my land the way it is. Nature doesn't need scheduling. Her smile tightened. We've had complaints about overgrowth. And that old cabin, it might not be up to fire safety code. That stopped me cold. Fire code? That cabin's older than your HOA. Exactly, she said sweetly. That's why we'll need an inspection. If it doesn't meet our standards, we may require renovation or removal. I stared at her. Removal? You mean demolition? She didn't answer. She just wrote something on her clipboard and walked off. And that's when I knew, this was war. That night, I barely slept. The wind through the trees sounded like whispers from my great-grandfather himself. Don't let them take it. So I dug. I pulled out every file, every record, deeds, survey maps, and hand-signed documents dating back over a century. The next morning, I went to the county recorder's office. Ray, the clerk, had worked there longer than I'd been alive. He squinted at the paperwork, then at me. This land's never been rezoned. Never. HOA's pulling something slick here. Can you make copies? I asked. Copies? I'll certify the originals for you. He stamped each page like he was hammering a nail into Linda's coffin. There, he said. That cabin's as legal as the courthouse itself. Over the next few weeks, the letters came faster. Violation notice. Failure to comply. Outstanding balance, $1,750. They even threatened to place a lien on my property. I called Linda. Linda, you can't put a lien on land you don't own jurisdiction over. Oh, I can, she said. Once the board votes, it's binding. You'll regret that, I said quietly. Are you threatening me? No, I said. Just promising you'll learn something about property law. A few days later, I returned to the cabin and found paint markings and stakes across my lower field, with labels like, playground area, and, community trail. I stood there in disbelief. They were actually planning to build a park on my land. Instead of calling a lawyer right away, I decided to wait. Let them hang themselves with their own rope. I hired a surveyor, top of the line. He spent 2 full days measuring boundaries. When he finished, he pointed at the stakes the HOA had driven into the dirt. Yeah, about half of this so-called park is on your side. Clear as day. He gave me his certified report and photos. That was my ammo. Then, I reached out to a local news reporter who covered property disputes. She loved the story. You're saying the HOA is building on private land? Yep, I said. And I've got the proof. She grinned. Keep me updated. And I did. Every week, I sent her progress photos, all time-stamped. The park slowly took shape, swings, picnic tables, a gazebo right next to my oak tree. When I saw them install the Haven Ridge Community Park sign, I knew it was almost time. The big day arrived in late May. Linda stood front and center, microphone in hand, crowd gathered around. Kids ran past me holding balloons. Banners fluttered. There was even a barbecue pit smoking in the distance. Today, Linda announced, we celebrate what makes Haven Ridge special, unity, pride, and shared spaces. The crowd cheered. And that's when I stepped forward, holding a leather folder. Excuse me, everyone, I said. Before we continue, there's something you should know. Linda blinked, startled. Mr. Lawson, this isn't the time. Oh, I think it is. I handed copies of my documents to the board members beside her. This park? The one you built, funded, and now claim belongs to Haven Ridge? It's sitting on my property. The crowd fell silent. That's absurd. Linda shouted. The developer's map. One of the board members interrupted her, flipping through my survey. Linda, these are certified. He's right. Linda's face drained of color. I turned to the crowd. I tried to warn the HOA. I sent letters, proof, everything. They ignored me. So I filed a legal injunction yesterday. Right on cue, a county sheriff arrived, stepping out of his cruiser with an envelope. Afternoon, he said. Court order, this land is under dispute. Nobody's allowed to use it until it's resolved. He taped a bright yellow notice to the park sign. Property under legal dispute, entry prohibited. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Parents gathered their kids. Cameras clicked. Linda stood frozen. You can't do this, she whispered. I already did, I replied. The next few weeks were brutal, for Linda. The county ordered the HOA to cease operations on all disputed land. The park sat empty, grass wilting, swings creaking in the wind. Neighbors started whispering. Did you hear she built it on someone else's property? Yeah, they might lose thousands. Within a month, the HOA caved. They agreed to pay for land restoration, survey costs, and a $45,000 settlement for unauthorized construction. Linda tried to appeal, until the county began investigating the HOA's finances. Turned out, she'd been skimming dues for administrative expenses. She resigned quietly, citing stress. The new HOA board reached out, polite, professional, nothing like Linda. They apologized, offered to reimburse me for damages, and even proposed turning my boundary zone into a private conservation easement, guaranteeing no future development. I agreed, on one condition. Rename your park. You don't get to call it Haven Ridge anymore. That name belongs to my deed, Haven Hill, since 1886. They agreed. Now, when I sit on the porch with a cup of coffee, I can see where the park used to be, an open clearing where wildflowers have grown back. Sometimes hikers stop by and ask if the story's true. I just smile and say, every inch of this mountain has a story. And this one learned its boundaries the hard way. It's been almost a year since the whole mess. Linda moved out of the neighborhood. The HOA, to its credit, now respects property lines like sacred scripture. My cabin still stands, same cracked stone chimney, same pine scent, same quiet dignity. Sometimes I think about how close I came to losing it all, just because someone thought their rules mattered more than my roots. But the truth is simple. Rules don't make a community, respect does. And when someone tries to take what's yours, the smartest move isn't shouting. It's waiting. Letting them build their empire on sand, and then watching it collapse under its own weight. Power built on arrogance always crumbles. Know your rights, stay patient, and let the truth do the heavy lifting.